So what are libraries to do about the big three? That's the question. I think the message here is fairly self-explanatory. But I got to be honest with you. When I presented this graphic, this slide, to the powers that be, translation, the lawyers, there was a little bit of pause. And it does look pretty similar to some other logos we've seen. And we went back and forth, and finally they said to me, Andrew, you can do this as long as you make abundantly clear that you're doing this in parity. Thank you, and the lawyers, thank you, I'm sure. So I have 5 suggestions on things that libraries need to do to get back in the game. The first thing is mobile. Mobile usage now has surpassed desktop usage, and 86% of mobile usage is via apps. Mobile and apps are simply the new minimum bar that libraries need, so they need to embrace that platform. The second thing is the libraries need to embrace the 3 E's that I talked about earlier, that the big 3 are focused on. They need to provide products that are less clunky, more simple, more intuitive, beautiful to look at, and products that keep you there and keep you coming back. The third thing is content. It's tough for libraries to compete on the bestsellers. I read recently about one library that spent $28,000 on a single ebook. What was that ebook? 50 Shades of Grey. Now, we can all debate the literary merit of this particular book. I've actually heard it's quite saucy. But I just don't think this is a particularly good use of resources. But there are tons of green fields out there, content that you don't find everywhere else. There are independent authors. There are small and medium-sized publishers across a huge range of genres. There are books on job training and digital skills. And of course, the libraries have their own special collections and archives that they need to leverage. The fourth point is curation. Now, most people, when they hear the word curation, tend to think of museums or art galleries. As it turns out, librarians are actually really good at building collections and then putting those collections into context. If I'm searching for, say, Mark Twain, anybody can take me to Huckleberry Finn. The librarian, though, could take you to the complete multimedia Mark Twain experience. Wouldn't that be pretty cool? And then lastly, physical presence. This is the one thing that libraries have that the big 3 don't. They need to leverage it. They need to lend devices out to patrons, they need to provide technical training, and they need to host special events to promote their services. I'd like to share with you a quick metaphor. We're all familiar with the big supermarket chains like Publix and Kroger. They have a huge selection, typically 60,000 items on their shelves. But the experience, meh. I mean, it's not that great. It's actually kind of sterile. Well, along came a competitor called Whole Foods. They actually have a much smaller selection, much smaller, 1/3 of the size, but that selection is curated and tailored to the community, and it's presented in a warm and engaging environment. So my message is simple: libraries can be Whole Foods.